built a gate blocking my private road, so I legally locked their only shortcut. I was drinking coffee on my front porch at 6 in the morning when I heard the sound of concrete drilling coming from the end of the dirt road. At first, I thought somebody was repairing a fence. But when I drove down to check, I saw a crew setting 2 large steel posts right in the middle of my family private road. On the ground, there was an automatic gate frame, wiring, a control box, and a brand new sign that read, "Willow Creek HOA entrance, residents only." The problem was that road did not belong to the HOA, it belonged to me. My family had owned that land since 1969. The dirt road ran almost half a mile from the county road to my house, then continued past the edge of the woods to the back acreage. When Willow Creek was built 7 years earlier, the developer had asked to temporarily use part of that road so construction trucks could enter and exit. My father was still alive then, and he signed a temporary agreement that was very clear. They could use it during construction. They could not widen it. They could not change the surface. They could not turn it into a public road. And the right to use it automatically ended when the project was completed. The project had been finished for years, but Willow Creek residents had gotten used to cutting through my road because it saved them about 4 minutes compared to using their main gate. I had reminded them a few times, but most of them were polite. I did not want trouble. I simply put up a private road sign at the entrance. Then the HOA elected a new president named Darren Pike. Darren was the kind of man who thought the title HOA president was the same as mayor. He wore polo shirts with the Willow Creek logo, drove a golf cart around the neighborhood, and loved sending 3-page emails about trash cans, curtain colors, and grass being over 4 inches tall. When I saw the steel gate on my road, I called the number printed on the contractor truck. The site manager said the HOA had hired them to upgrade the secondary entrance. I asked if they had permission to work on this land. He frowned and said the HOA told them this was their easement. I told them to stop until they could prove that. The contractor called Darren. 15 minutes later, Darren drove up and stepped out looking annoyed. He told me they were improving security for the community and that I should not interfere. I told him this was my private road and that the construction agreement expired 6 years ago. Darren smirked and said the road had been used by the community for years and that I could not suddenly claim it as private. I told him I was not suddenly claiming anything. The county records had said that since 1969, he looked at me like I was just a stubborn old man. Then he said, if I damaged the gate or interfered with construction, the HOA would sue. That was the sentence that made me stop arguing. I took pictures of the entire work site. I recorded video of the contractor drilling into the concrete. I saved the sign, the company name, and the license plates. Then I went home and pulled out the deed, the 2004 survey, and the temporary agreement my father had signed with the developer. The next morning, I went to the county recorder office. The clerk helped me pull every record connected to Willow Creek. And right there, in the original subdivision approval file, I found the important part. The developer had once requested a permanent easement over my road, but the county denied it because there was no landowner's signature. After that, they were only allowed temporary use during construction under the private agreement with my father. There was no permanent easement. There was no right to install a gate. There was no right to run electrical wiring. There was no right to block access to my home. I hired a surveyor to mark the boundary along the road. When he finished measuring, he shook his head at the gate posts. Both posts were on my land more than 8 feet inside my property. The underground electrical line they had started digging also crossed my land without a utility permit. My attorney, Elaine Porter, sent the HO. A legal notice demanding that they stop construction, remove the entire gate, restore the road surface, and reimburse my survey costs. Darren responded with a short email saying the HOA would not be bullied by one landowner. Then he allowed the contractor to keep working. 3 days later, a city inspector and a sheriff deputy arrived at the same time. I did not call the sheriff to create drama. My attorney called because the contractor continued trespassing after receiving notice. The inspector checked the file and found that the HOA had no permit for the automatic gate, no permit for the electrical trench, and no right to work on that parcel. He posted a stop work order right on the gate post. Darren arrived while it was happening, red-faced and furious. He told the inspector this was a community access point. The inspector asked if he had a recorded easement in the county records. Darren talked in circles. The inspector simply said, "No easement, no permit, no construction." I thought that would end it. But Darren still refused to back down. He sent an email to residents claiming I was blocking the community emergency access and endangering children's safety. That was another mistake. Willow Creek had 2 legal main gates approved by the fire department. My road had never been part of their emergency access plan. My attorney sent Darren email to the fire marshal. The fire marshal checked the records and issued a written statement confirming that my road was not part of the emergency access plan. He also ordered the HOA to stop making false statements about emergency access. At that point, residents started asking questions. They wanted to know why Darren had spent $42,000 of HOA money on a gate with no permit on land. The HOA did not own. They asked who approved the contract. They asked why the HOA attorney had not reviewed it first. At a special meeting, I came with Elaine. I did not need to say much. Elaine displayed the county map, the temporary agreement, the survey results, the stop work order, and the fire marshal email. The room went silent. One resident asked Darren if he knew the easement had expired. Darren said he believed there was a traditional right of use. Elaine responded immediately, "Convenient use does not create ownership rights when there was a written temporary agreement that expired." 2 weeks later, the HOA had to remove the gate. They paid to restore the road, reimbursed the survey fee, and paid $7,800 of my attorney fees. The contractor was also fined by the county for unpermitted electrical work. Darren was forced to resign.
Welcome, everyone.
After residents learned he had signed the contract without legal review. As for me, I did what I should have done years earlier. I built a simple wooden gate at the entrance, fully inside my property line, with a proper permit. On the gate, I placed a sign that said, "Private road. No HOA access." From then on, Willow Creek residents had to use their main gate. It added 4 minutes to their drive, and I got back the peace and quiet of the road. My family had owned for more than 50 years. I did not block their road. I locked my own.